A town hall meeting over the construction of a new mosque erupted into utter chaos, and we've got some video.
You are terrorists. Every one of you are terrorists. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. You can smile at me. You can say whatever you want. But every Muslim is a terrorist. Period. Right now. Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear your mouth. I'm done with you. Everything that I will do, everything that I can do to keep you from doing what you're doing will happen. That will happen.
Okay, now you might be wondering how this conflict between that Muslim man and Hulk Hogan actually started. And you might think maybe Hulk went out, or the Muslim man went and said, we're going to do some bombings, and that's what set him off. But no, it was nothing as violent as that. That was Samer Shalaby. That was the Muslim man you saw in that video. He was a civil engineer and member of the Islamic Center of Fredericksburg. They were discussing plans for the new worship center at a Spotsylvania County meeting on property the Muslim community owns. So they had this town hall meeting to talk about the fact that on their own property, they were going to set up a new center for worship, and that's when that man there, the meathead, decided to go crazy.
Quick role reversal here that I enjoy. Imagine Christians own property here in America, and they're going to build a church on it. And Muslim guys come into a town hall meeting and go, shut your mouth. I'm going to make sure in everything I do that you never build that church here.
Yes.
Every one of you is,
a terrorist. Every Christian's whatever. A terrorist.
Right. Every one of you is guilty.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm going to make sure you never build that church on your own property. What do you think the reaction there is?
Yeah.
Okay, or imagine the Black Panthers did that to any white organization. Watch Fox.
Every white motherfucker's the devil.
Right. Every one of you is the devil, and I'm going to make sure you white folks never build anything in this town, not even on your property. Okay? Yeah. My guess is that doesn't end well. Okay.
Probably not. Now, we have some comments from some of the people who were at the town hall meeting, Muslims who were there to probably not get involved in a massive brouhaha, but they did. And so this is Munira Salim Abdullah, who says, it is so sad that people are so ignorant. I understand the fear. All of us have fear, including the Muslims, because the people who did what they did, referring to Paris there, are not Muslims. Now, another member of that Islamic Center says, you keep hoping that as we evolve in this country, that's where you lost them, the evolving, that we will not completely put a blanket designation on any group, especially for religion. But unfortunately they do, and many people put blanket comments there and blanket accusations of violence. Every Muslim is a terrorist. That man believes that something like a third to a fourth of the population of this earth are terrorists.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That we haven't lost already with that many terrorists running around.
Yeah. So let me disagree with Munira Salim Abdullah just a little bit. She said those people who did the bombings are not Muslim. Well, that's your interpretation, right?
Yes.
So in my view of it, they're both Muslims. The radical Muslims that did the bombings and the peaceful Muslims that are just trying to build a community center.
Yes.
They have different interpretation of their text, and if you read their text, both interpretations are justifiable, okay? So that's why we, as a person who's agnostic and against religion, I'd like to make sure we don't follow those texts.
Yeah.
Because there's dangerous things in all the texts, okay? So I don't agree with her completely on that. It's easy to say no true Scotsman would ever do that, no true Muslim would ever do that.
Every group does that.
Every group does that, right? So now, but the much more important problem here is the guy, the very thick-necked guy threatening violence here. There's two huge problems. The cops come in, eventually there's so much shouting, they disband the town hall. No. You got to remove the guys who are threatening violence, right? And he said, shut your mouth, right? And
I thought Sarah Palin said that liberals always tell conservatives to shut up, to sit down.
Yeah.
Apparently it's flipped around.
He said, I don't want to hear your mouth, let alone the threatening manner in which he was doing it. Well, if you're trying to have a town hall meeting and one guy is saying, you're not allowed to talk, and I'm going to threaten you if you do talk, that's the guy you remove.
You get him out of
You
there.
don't remove the whole thing. You don't call it 50-50. Some guys are trying to have a reasonable conversation about zoning or whatever it is that they're going to do in regards to this building, and then you've got guys with doing threats. You remove the guys who are doing the threats. But again, white privilege, if I'm coming to threaten you, well, I get to have you get escorted out of the building as well.
Yeah, well, when you pointed at me right there, I felt threatened. Edwin, could you get this guy out of here?
Well, it's a little different around here. Okay, so now the other part that is deeply disturbing is what John alluded to. He said, every one of you are terrorists. I don't care what you say. Every Muslim is a terrorist. Now, does everyone who argues against Muslims in general or in part, or some Muslims, if not all Muslims, yada, 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 you see on the internet, right? Does everybody agree with this guy? No, I hope to God they don't, right? And so I believe that they are largely genuine when they say, no, I don't mean all Muslims, right? But this guy does mean all Muslims. Somebody got him pumped up to say all Muslims, right? It's funny, he didn't do the nuance that some others do, right? Yeah. He didn't hear the nuance. He heard Muslims are the bad guys, right? Whether that came from Trump or from other quarters, right? Yeah. So now I'm going to use the same logic that the people who are against Muslims in part, in general, et cetera, use. Okay. Why haven't people condemned him? Now, if you're from this community, here, I'll name names. Sam Harris, why haven't you condemned him already? Okay. It's on you, isn't it? It's on you, right? I mean, that's the logic you guys use. Why doesn't every Muslim in the world condemn every attack that happens to be done by a Muslim?
I condemn that guy.
Okay. Why, Donald Trump, why haven't you condemned this guy? Okay.
As a representative of people with really short hair and thick necks, I condemn that man.
Thank you. Okay, we've got one on the board.
Look at his neck.
We've got one on the board. Every white guy, why haven't you condemned it? Everyone who has ever spoken out against Muslims in any way, shape, or form, which, by the way, could also be me, I condemn him. Okay.
Cenk, so the FBI released the photos of the men in Virginia who were going to bomb the black churches to start a race war. And I looked at them and I thought, man, those are some hillbilly yokel-looking motherfuckers. And so I put on Facebook, my status was, why hasn't every Virginian condemned these men? Because for some reason, with some groups, you get to be a terrorist and your entire group, demographically that's similar to you, doesn't have to condemn you.
And for the ones who are thick-necked like this guy and don't understand nuance, let me at least clarify. I don't actually think Sam Harris or Donald Trump should, well, Donald Trump a little bit.
He's responsible, I would say.
Should condemn this guy. Obviously, you're not responsible for the actions of an idiot in the middle of a Virginia town hall. I would ask you to use the same standard when it comes to condemning 1.6 billion Muslims or demanding that every one of them apologize, every one of their leaders apologize, every time a bunch of idiot, radical, fundamentalist, extremist Muslims do an attack. Please use some level of consistency and logic. It shouldn't be too hard to ask for, but I'm positive that it is, and I'm sure that you will be in a rage anyway.
My final point is this is exactly what ISIS wants. So that guy's all fired up, probably because of the Paris terrorist attacks. What ISIS doesn't want is Muslims in America to just integrate like every other group ever has in American history. They want them to feel marginalized. They want them to feel like they're not a part of America, so they will be primed to be like brought into some sort of group someday. They don't want them to integrate. So they scare crazy white people or crazy Americans who then attack them and make them feel like they're not a part of Fredericksburg or whatever crazy name that city has.
Let me give one level of specificity to that. ISIS actually talks about things called gray zones. Gray zones are when Muslims integrate into Western societies like in Europe and in America. They hate gray zones. What they want is white and black, right? Black and white.
Yeah.
So they want it to be us versus them. What does that thick-necked guy in Virginia want? Us versus them. So when you go do that, you're not fighting ISIS, you're helping ISIS.
Yeah. And just to give you the idea that this is not just ISIS causing this, here is a quote from Dr. Ben Carson today talking about Syrian refugees. He's going to use a metaphor. It's a very interesting metaphor. If there's a rabid dog running around your neighborhood, you're probably not going to assume something good about that dog, and you're probably going to put your children out of the way. That doesn't mean that you should hate all dogs. So when you talk about children from Syria fleeing a war zone as being rabid dogs, maybe that could radicalize someone. Maybe.
Dehumanizing a certain religion to drive hatred against them, resulting in that actual hatred you see all across America, with this video being one example. Remember, mosque burned down in Canada just a couple of days ago, right? Or much worse, celebrating the birth of a child, 70 people in that mosque. Luckily, they left half an hour before the fire was started, right? So you start to see that all across North America, and gee, that probably won't cause any problems. Let's keep heading in that direction, you know? So,
and the analogy, as I said in the production meeting, the analogy is insane. Here's the actual analogy, and it shows how crazy these people are. No, the analogy is if you walk around your neighborhood and every time you see a dog, you assume it's rabid because rabid dogs exist, you're a fucking psycho. And that's Ben Carson. Because every time he sees a Syrian 3-year-old, he assumes it's a member of ISIS. That's the insanity.